why does he not call an election, get a mandate, go to Brussels and negotiate a deal himself? What's his objection to that?
It's a good question. Since 2017, Jeremy Corbyn has wanted one thing.
We need a general election.
I think we need a general election. The public do deserve an election.
There must be a general election.
Now, with a series of humiliating defeats in Parliament and in the courts, Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants that same thing.
You're joking. Not another one?
So surely that would mean full steam ahead. We're having an election. The people are going to decide who they want to represent them in Parliament. Well, probably not.
Honestly, I can't stand this.
Things have changed. Jeremy Corbyn and the other main opposition parties no longer want an election. At least not yet. Parliament returned at the start of September with a new Prime Minister, with a new agenda. Well, he's pretty much only talking about Brexit, but there are a few big differences. Theresa May's please everyone approach was no more. Boris Johnson was going to be leaving the EU on the 31st of October, do or die, at any cost necessary.
He has the personality and the pizzazz to get Brexit over the line, doesn't he? Yes, he does.
So he suspended Parliament, causing outrage on the opposition benches, leaving them with just a week to make a bill to stop him leaving the EU without a deal on the 31st of October. Spooky.
Let's get the living daylights out of it.
The opposition won with the help of a few dozen Tory MPs, who are now no longer allowed to be Tory MPs, leaving the Prime Minister with a majority of -41. It's been a good week then. Then Parliament stopped, MPs all got really angry, and then it got quiet for a little while.
The Prime Minister's advice to Her Majesty was unlawful, void and of no effect.
Holy sh**. Boris Johnson said he suspended Parliament to have a Queen's speech, but the top judge at the Supreme Court said he illegally stopped the Brexit debate, and in doing so, he lied to the Queen. Yeah, Boris, I'm sure she's really happy about that one. That brings us to now. Parliament's back, and Boris Johnson is again calling for a general election.
Come on! Come on! Come on then!
Opposition MPs don't want to vote for that until a no-deal Brexit is off the table.
If he wants an election, get an extension and let's have an election!
So it doesn't seem like we're having an election quite yet, and that's a problem, because Parliament is really broken right now. They won't vote for a Brexit deal, and they won't let a no-deal Brexit happen either. Johnson doesn't have a majority anymore, and he hasn't won a single major vote yet. So an election is exactly what he wants, because he's betting on getting enough MPs to be able to force through his version of Brexit.
I say to all the doubters, dude!
And if you look at the polls, it might not even be in Labour's best interest to have an election right now. The Conservatives are currently 8 points ahead in the polls, and Corbyn's approval ratings aren't that great either. Sure, Labour overcame a 20-point gap in the 2017 election, but that was against a weak campaigner who was nowhere near as strong or stable as she would have liked.
While our opponents flirt with a foreign policy of neutrality and prepare for a run on the ground.
But there's almost certainly going to be an election coming up quite soon, and that election is pretty much only going to be about Brexit, and Labour are going to have to talk about it. Labour's Brexit policy is to renegotiate a new deal with the EU. Then they're going to put that to a referendum and decide at a later date what side they want to back. They're not exactly appealing to the emotions with that one, which is a problem, because quite often that's how you win an election. Everybody has a strong opinion on Brexit. It's the most important issue for almost 3/4 of voters. The Lib Dems want to remain, and the Conservatives, they want to leave. Labour having an ambiguous position on Brexit is a gamble that might not pay off, especially when most of their 2017 voters voted to remain. Labour are strongest when they're talking about anything other than Brexit. I suspect Corbyn would quite like some sort of Brexit deal to be passed so he can talk about literally anything else. But that seems unlikely to happen, and with feelings about Brexit so high, sitting on the sidelines could cost Jeremy Corbyn his second election.